Welcome. Scott here. Here is a quick boss guide for the upcoming Heretics event, Silver Witch Heretics, featuring the returning Relm from Final Fantasy VI. The event synergy units are Relm, Golbez, Vanille, Yuna, Porom and Yuffie. Relm's FR and Burst will be making their debut. Both Relm and Yuna will be getting their reworks and FR boards. All featured units will be getting their level 50 force enhancements. We will be fighting two affects, which has 350 million HP each. They are immune to turn deletion and their CTB gauge will be framed throughout the fight. The turn requirement is 40. The HP requirements is 10,000. Before I continue further, here is a small disclaimer clause for the video. The guide is written based on the time that the event was released for the Japanese version. Please do note that it is possible that the boss fight mechanics might differ when the actual event is released in global. Like most other Shinryu fights, the boss gains increased brave damage and gain resistances at start of the fight and 79% HP threshold. Bringing a support like Iris, Setzer, Rosa, Queen, Braska, Rem, Yuna, Pernello, Charlotta, Aerith, Ramza, Fujin, Selpha, Deuce, or Siren that grants damage boosting aura will make your fight easier. As the boss gains substantial boost to their defenses with the auras, it is important to inflict debuffs that lower their defenses. On the screen, I have listed down the examples of the key utility that you can consider for this fight. The fight features the boss using Threshold's attack. When the force gauge reaches 20%, 50%, and 80%, the affect will use Water Spread, which is an AoE brave attack that delays all your party turns by one turn. The boss has a basic attack rotation of Evil Scratch and Darka. Be mindful that Evil Scratch is a guaranteed hit, single target brave plus HP attack. Upon using its force ability, the boss A will warp its turns forward and gain 3 consecutive turns with a white aura. The color of the aura will depend on number of consecutive turns that you take before the boss acts. Upon reaching the 6 consecutive turns, both bosses will use Water Spread Plus, which is a guaranteed hit AoE brave plus HP attack. This can be dangerous if you do not have damage mitigation. To avoid the annoying white aura mechanic, it is best to cancel it with a magic FR that inflicts a debuff. Examples of such FR are Relm, Ace, Shantato, Fusoyat, Hope, Celis, Neon and Seymour. As the boss will warp its turn forward, you bring damage mitigation utility by deploying off-turn mechanics or brave control utility. You can also disable their turns with turn disable utility. Due to the water spread threshold mechanics, do be mindful that charging your force gauge could be a bit trickier to execute. As long as you have the means to handle the mechanics that I have mentioned, the fight shouldn't be too difficult to handle. As we are no longer have Vanille plus fights, the boss guide will be focused primarily on Shinryu fights. In Shinryu, you need to understand the effects gained by the boss as the force gauge build up, its force ability and its force time effect. As your party has low force levels, it is highly certain that the boss force gauge will build up faster than yours. To have a better understanding on the basics of the force gauge mechanics and Shinryu fights, I have done a video explaining the mechanics. I have included the link to the video under the comments and video description for your quick reference. Throughout the fight, the boss force gauge will also gain 4% charge rate up when your party members act. When the gauge reaches 20% and above, both affects will trigger Water Spread. Water Spread is an AoE brave attack that delays all your party turn by one turn. When the gauge reaches 50% and above, both affects will trigger Water Spread again. When the gauge reaches 80% and above, both affects will trigger Water Spread again. The boss force gauge will build up faster as its HP is lowered. You can refer to the table on the screen for the percentages. At the 100% threshold, the boss A will use its force ability, Cut in Turn Order, which is a non-attacking ability that results boss A to warp its turn forward and gain 3 consecutive turns. Both bosses will gain a white aura whenever the force time is active. Upon using the force ability, the boss will enter into its force time where the gauge will start to emit a red hue with a counter of 20 on its gauge. When the force time is activated, the boss will gain the following enhancements. The boss party turns will not be delay from break. If your party acts 6 consecutive turns before the boss takes a turn, they will trigger Water Spread Plus. Water Spread Plus is a guaranteed hit, AoE Brave plus HP attack that ignores turn disable effects. So how you know whether the boss will uses Water Spread Plus? This will be indicated by the color of auras. The aura will be upgraded when you take a consecutive turn. Be mindful that calls also count to the turn. A burst phase should probably count as a turn as well. The aura starts with white. On your second turn, the aura will be upgraded to blue. On your third turn, the aura will be upgraded to yellow. On the fourth turn, the aura will be upgraded to red. On the fifth turn, the aura will return to white, signaling both bosses will use Water Spread Plus on your next turn. Generally, if you do not get the red aura and let one of the bosses take a turn, you will be able to avoid triggering Water Spread Plus. To deal the boss force weakness which remove the boss force time, you need use a magic FR that inflicts a debuff. Examples of FR that works for these conditions are Relm, Ace, Shantato, Fusoyat and Neon. For non-FR echo options, they are Celis, Hope, and Seymour. Now, let us go through the fight key mechanics. Like the recent battles, the fight features minimal mechanics. The boss has a standard basic rotation where it rotates between Evil Scratch and Darka. If its current Brave is high, the boss could do a rip single target HP attack. Evil Scratch is a reset break status, followed a guaranteed hit single target melee Brave plus HP attack. Darka is a single target magic Brave attack. As mentioned earlier, due to the boss threshold attacks Water Spread, building up your FR gauge will need some additional setup like inflict a Brave control debuff like Setzer Freeze Joker. This is due to that the boss will use Evil Scratch as its first attack. Alternatively, you can use Brave Nullification BT Oro like Iris, Karaseme, or Golbez. You can also deploy a cover tank or damage mitigator like Zack or Warrior of Light to mitigate the damage from the incoming Evil Scratch. When it activates its force time, keep in mind of the colored auras. You can take a maximum of 5 consecutive actions, otherwise your party will face a double guaranteed hit Water Spread Plus attack. If you want to avoid handling the colored aura mechanic, use a magic FR that inflict debuff will make the fight significantly easier. The usual off-turn setups should not have much difficulty for this fight, but do keep in mind of the guaranteed hit Evil Scratch attack. With the boss mechanics explained, let us proceed to the FR Burst Kit review for the 2 featured units. As I am having tuna for breakfast, let me start off with Yuna first. Yuna has returned with a decent upgrade. She is a great force charger and her mechanic involving the party free of debuffs. She can cleanse easily with her S1. Her BT finisher offers one of the hardest hitting HP attacks in the game, and the BT offers nice party effects if you can prevent debuffs for the party. If you do not have a force charger for the White Crystal group, she is a valuable addition to your roster. Upon activation, Yuna FR will cleanses all debuff followed by an AoE Magic Brave plus HP attack. While the force time is activated, the party will gain 100% debuff evasion. If the party do not have any debuffs when they act, they will gain auras that boost their max Brave cap by 50% and HP damage by 50%. Please do note that the debuff evasion aura does not prevent guaranteed hit debuffs. To avoid guaranteed hit debuffs, you will need to use a debuff negation call like Raijin LDCA or have Weiss activate his BT aura. Her force time conditions have been enhanced with her FR boards. Let us look into her force conditions. If the party do not have any debuffs when taking a turn, you will get 70% HP damage bonus. When using a changed Brave or HP command during your turn, you will gain 40% HP damage bonus. Originally, the FR is restrictive due to there are a limited pool of units that have potent changed Brave or HP commands. However, With her FR boards, Yuna FR becomes a great generic FR if you can prevent debuffs inflicted on the party. You can abuse supercharging strategy with 120% per turn or have Yuna ramp up the force time at 110% per turn, spamming her energy ray during her burst phase. Let me cover a bit on her BT aura. The BT aura lasts 8 turns. Like most BT auras, it will grant some standard party auras. It will raise the party brave damage cap plus 20%, stolen max brave overflow plus 20%, brave damage up plus 30% and HP damage up plus 10%. While the BT aura is active, the party increases brave by 20% HP damage dealt per turn. The BT will load more auras for the party if the individual member does not have any debuffs active. The unit will gain the following additional auras: HP damage up plus 20%, brave damage up plus 20%, and max brave cap plus 20%. Okay. We are done with the featured summoner. Let us proceed to talk about the featured artist, Relm. Relm is an ultra-versatile unit. Her sketch summon allows her S1 to changes its properties depending on the summon you use for the party. Notable summons combos that you can consider are Odin for 50% chance of inflict guaranteed break, Pandemonium for launching and self-summon for burst healing. Placing her sketch debuff will also allows Relm to warp her turns after the units with sketch debuff acts. Generally, battles can be a lot of fun in using Relm. Now let me cover a bit on her FR. Her FR is a magic AoE brave plus HP attack. It will inflict 2-turn sketch debuff on all enemies. Her FR conditions are: 1. Use a magic ability will get you 40% HP damage bonus. To maximize this condition, just form a party of magic attackers with Relm. 2. Attack an enemy inflicted with Relm's sketch debuff will get you another 40% HP damage bonus. Relm can reliably reapply her sketch debuff with her S2, EX, LD and FR. The FR offers easy to meet condition if you do not let her sketch debuff fall off. Let me cover a bit on her BT aura. The BT aura lasts 8 turns. Like most BT auras, it will grant some standard party auras. It will raise the party brave damage cap plus 20%, brave damage up plus 50% and HP damage up plus 20% and max brave cap plus 30%. While the BT aura is active, BT aura will not downtick when Relm is on her free sketch turn. In addition to the standard aura, depending on the party setup, you will gain additional aura boost or free sketch warp turn mechanic for the allies. Let me draw attention to the bottom part of the screen. The leftmost slot is slot 3, the middle slot is slot 2 and lastly the rightmost slot is slot 1. If Relm is in slot 1, both allies in slot 2 and slot 3 will gain auras that are mentioned under left of Relm. If Relm is in slot 3, both allies in slot 1 and 2 will gain the free turn sketch mechanic under the right of Relm. If Relm is in slot 2, the unit in slot 1 will gain the free sketch turn mechanic while the unit in slot 3 will gains the additional auras. If the units are on the left of Relm, and the allies will gain the following additional auras that raises their brave damage by 30%, brave damage cap by 30%, HP damage by 20% and lastly max brave cap by 20%. If the units on the right of Relm, and allies will gain free turn after an enemy inflicted with the sketch debuff takes a turn. So how to abuse her BT mechanics? Any units meet her condition, you can have them set in slot 1 or 2. In other words, only Relm and these allies will warp theirs turn after the boss with the sketch debuff takes a turn. If you do not want the unit to warp because they provide off-turn damage like Kaljar, Ruby Conte, Orin, or any of the cover tanks, you can have them place in slot 3 or 2. Doing will result the units taking minimum turn during her force time while their off-turn damage benefit from the additional auras. Generally, Relm is a very situational unit to play. If the boss don't have any damage mitigation auras or HP heal back mechanics, you can make use of Relm sketch warp mechanics with a long FR retain to do good damage even without using any force time. With this, I have come to the end of my boss guide presentation. Hopefully you find it useful. If you like the video, please give a like. Please subscribe to my channel for future gaming content. Good luck for the fight in the coming days. Bye.